In this video, I'd like to talk about a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Podcast where we had wrestling legend Ric Flair on as a guest, where Rick shared some bar stories of fights that other wrestlers had got into, which, if are true, are absolutely insane.
Rock is our version of Harley Race today.
So right off the bat, for those of you who don't know, Harley Race was a wrestler that started wrestling in 1959, had a 31-year career that lasted until 1990, and is widely considered amongst all other wrestlers as one of the toughest guys to ever actually wrestle. And Rick's comparing him to Brock Lesnar, who I'm sure most of you are already familiar with.
Today. But the difference is Brock wouldn't bite your nose off. I don't think he has it in him. And Brock wouldn't pull your eye out.
Pull your eye out?
Yeah, this guy, Harley, many times. Simple. Boom.
Simple, boom, no eye. Come on, Joe, what don't you understand?
He pulled guys' eyes out?
Yeah, I've seen it twice.
Important to note that Rick has seen it twice.
What, they got blinded, you mean?
Well, they lost their eye. Was hanging by a string. I don't know what happened to it. This is back in the 70s.
Yeah, back in 1970, where if your eye was dangling by a string, we didn't know what was going on. It wasn't until 2012 that we figured out if your eye is hanging on by a thread that you might go blind.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
literally pulled their fucking eye out?
Right? Huh? You know what Haku is, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I like how Joe is asking him if this actually happened. Maybe he thinks he's just speaking hyperbole, but Rick decides to change the subject to another wrestler. Maybe Rick thinks he was getting too graphic for Joe's podcast, so he's going to lighten it up a little bit with something else. Let's see.
Yeah,
got a guy named Haku.
That's a scary guy.
Haku beat a bartender's nose off.
Most former wrestlers consider Haku to be the toughest one out of all of them. That's the general consensus.
Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah, like off.
We've had some really tough guys in the business.
So let's go, before we get to the nose, let's go back to the eyes. So you see more than one guy get his eyeball pulled out of his head?
I've never seen it fall on the ground.
But you saw it hanging out of his head?
Oh, yeah. I've seen it 3 times.
First it's 2 times, now it's 3.
Holy fuck. Do you ever see those guys again?
No, they weren't wrestlers. They were fans in the bar starting a fight.
I find it hard to believe that random fans would try to start fights with these wrestlers. I'm not saying it's never happened, but I'm saying more likely than not, it sounds like a lot of these wrestlers instigated these occurrences.
Oh. These weren't wrestlers. These were guys that thought they were tough. Harley used to go like this. He'd go, I have to do the smoking thing because we'd walk into a bar like in Fort Worth. This is his favorite. I said, Harley, look at all the women in here, man. It's packed. These girls in cowboy boots and jeans and shit. He said, I'm going to play pool.
So Rick is going to neglect to tell us any specifics about an eye gouging story, which really does make me wonder whether or not it's true, considering he saw it 3 times and chooses not to talk about one specific incident, even though Joe asked him about it. But let's say it is true. Think about this for a second. Imagine you're a regular guy working some corporate job that you really don't like too much, 60 hours a week, but you do it because it pays okay money to support your wife and your 2 sons, ages 10 and 8. You only get 2 weeks of vacation for a year, and you're using one of them starting this weekend. It's Friday afternoon, you just got home from work, and your kids are going, come on, Dad, what are we going to do today? And your wife's looking at you, and you're telling everyone that tonight you're going out to meet with your old buddy from grade school that actually works for the same company that you do, but lives in another state and is flying back into town for the weekend, and you're going to meet him at the hotel bar he's staying at to hang out with him for a couple hours and talk. And then your kids are all bummed out going, come on, Dad, you said we were going to hang out this week. And you go, don't worry, because when we wake up tomorrow, I'm taking everyone out for ice cream. And your kids are going, all right, Dad, all right. And then you go, oh, no. That's not all. Because after we get ice cream, we're marching right on down to Best Buy, and I'm buying you all that Xbox you guys have been begging me for. And your kids are flipping out going, all right, Dad. You're standing there feeling all proud, thinking to yourself, all right, this is a win for Dad. Your wife's looking at you all happy, and then you go, oop, My Uber's pulling up. Gotta go. I'll see everyone when we wake up tomorrow. Bye. You're at the bar drinking with your buddy, and he starts talking about a new project your company's working on called the Westlink Project. And you go, hey, did you see that email from this morning about Westlink? It turns out some of the stuff in there was fake. Then at the other end of the bar, you got a couple of these wrestlers drugged out of their minds, drunk, and what they heard was, oh, this guy over there just said wrestling's fake. I think he's trying to make fun of us. You and your buddies are trying to explain that it was just a big misunderstanding and you can't get a word in edgewise. Next thing you know, you got Harley Race on top of you, pounding the crap out of you. And then before you know it, you have one eye. It's the next morning. You wake up in extreme pain in the ICU at the hospital. You're depressed. You have to call your wife to come pick you up and explain to her that you only have one eye. You come home, your kids are terrified, sad, depressed. What's the recourse? There's none. You have to live the rest of your life dealing with this. To add insult to injury, you got guys like Ric Flair going on popular shows like the Joe Rogan Podcast and glorifying these stories.
Harley, please, just sit down and have a drink. Calm down. He'd go over there. So, popular pool can be in those Western bars, right? Mm-hmm. There's guys with 10 quarters. Quarter next guy, right, next to play, right? They're all standing there, 20 people around. Take the cue off the wall, chalk it up, knock all the quarters off.
Oh, shit.
I'm next. Anybody got a problem?
Just from this story alone, you could tell this is the type of guy that goes looking to start trouble. And what does this say about Ric Flair, a man who's 74 and is so giddy to talk about him and his wrestling buddies going around drinking and beating up innocent people smaller than them? And then you got Joe and this other guy here who are just laughing along. When Rick first started talking about the eye gouging story, I thought Joe was going to call him out on it because maybe he thought it was BS or maybe he just thought it wasn't right. But I guess I'm wrong. Joe thinks it's pretty cool. And in a few minutes, Joe's going to start talking about how romantic he thinks the idea is of these wrestlers traveling around the world, getting drunk and beating up people.
Just picking it. He loved being the world champion.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, he was a different experience, man.
Yeah, I'm sure he was real different. He sounds great from the way you're describing him. And I also like how Joe right now seems like he's disgusted that people would do these kind of things, but he seems hesitant to confront Rick about it.
You would have loved him, Joe. He could tell you some stuff. Oh, there he is right there. There's the Haku brother.
Yeah.
We call him the human Vegematic.
Yeah. That's considered by many to be the scariest guy.
Oh, my God.
Haku. Yeah.
Yeah, he's on a short leash now. He's not allowed. His wife doesn't let him out of the house. Look at him.
His wife doesn't let him out of the house?
Well, he's had so many lawsuits. He's bad, man. So I'll tell you, we're in Charleston, South Carolina, and a bar called, I can't remember, it's in the late 80s, early 90s. And so Haku gets drinking Jack, right? And he goes, so he goes, asks this girl to dance. He's dancing, right? He just cuts in the guy. So the guy comes back and cuts in. Haku goes, why would he do that? Does he know the chief? I go back or tap at the guy and dancing with the girl again, right?
After I saw this podcast, I did some research on Haku and found countless interviews of countless wrestlers telling more insane stories about all the fights he got in and all the nasty things he did. But they each end it with, oh, but he's the nicest guy you'll ever meet. Does the nicest guy you'll ever meet sound like someone that would go up to a woman who's dancing with another man and push him away? I don't think so.
So it's closing time. They call the jukebox, and you can Google it. So this manager goes, last call on the post, last call. So I ordered a bunch of last call. And I go and sit there drinking. Here he is. You've seen him, right? And this guy, just normal sized guy, maybe 5'9", maybe 160 pounds. He goes up to Haku. He's like, and poking him on the chest. Hey, you, I told you, out. We called it the goozle. He put the guy to sleep.
You just grabbed him by the neck.
He hit him with that other thing, an artery here. And the guy just dropped to the ground. Here come the cops.
Maybe instead of choking a guy that's half your size in the so-called goozle, he should have left since the place was closing. And look how funny Ric Flair thinks this is. And if I had to bet, I would say Ric Flair is probably embellishing this story to make the bar manager seem like he was more rude than he actually was, just so him and these other wrestlers don't come off like total jerks.
Oh, you don't want to get him drunk.
Yeah.
God damn.
I don't know if that guy can smell what The Rock is cooking, though.
Yeah.
Help yourself.
Stupid.
No, there were some really tough guys. No, but Haku is he's the kindest, sweetest guy in the world. But
unless you say something wrong to him.
Well,
Bites your nose off.
it's the Jack Daniels.
So he's the kindest, sweetest guy as long as he's not drunk and you don't do anything that he disagrees with and gets whatever he wants.
Right.
No.
And also back then, not only are these guys coming in hot after doing a sold-out arena, an extreme high.
And then why do guys want to give a guy like you look at him? Who wants to give him some shit?
Right.
Why would anybody?
There's some dumb motherfuckers out there.
Exactly. And they're drunk, and if they say anything, even if what you do isn't even real, back then,
the guys were volatile.
Back then, before they admitted that it was entertainment, like back then, they were, a whole different era.
We'd walk in, and all the girls would leave the guys and come hang out with 10 of us. And of course, they all got pissed off, and they start running their mouths, and then they get their ass kicked. But back then, it's not like now you can't do anything. I mean, the cops hardly even came on stuff like that. They just threw the guy out,
Right. If there were cell phone videos back then, there would be thousands and thousands and thousands of cell phone videos of them beating people's asses all around the world.
I think he meant to say that there would be thousands and thousands of videos of these guys assaulting innocent people to prove how much of big tough guys they are.
How often did you guys get into bar fights?
Oh, on a 7-day week, probably twice a week.
Oh, look at Joe Rogan smiling. He thinks this is so funny. You would think that if you and your friends were getting into bar fights twice a week, then maybe someone in the group would say, hey, maybe the problem's us. And even if the problem wasn't them, maybe anyway it would be a good idea not to go out so much.
Not me. No, but I've seen bar fights.
Right.
Yeah, at least. It depends on what town we're in. But if we're an overnight town, it's funny. It's usually the smaller towns with the local guy is supposed to be the tough guy.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, the small town, and then in we come, and all the girls are in the small town.
Of course.
The local tough guy, and then, of course, he gets his ass whipped.
Yeah.
Murdered.
Yeah.
What a fucking gigantic
from guys
mistake.
that are in 7-day-a-week, 1-hour match shape, working out for 2 hours every day.
But with Harley, it was that left hand. What did you say about wrestling? I'm talking to you. He said with the cigarette in his hand. The guy's looking at his cigarette, right? I said it was fake. Wham! I mean, broken jaw, broken nose. I mean, and that was after followed by 2 headbutts. Unbelievable.
Just imagine if anyone could assault someone for saying something they didn't like about their job. And I think the worst part about all of this is technically if the guy said that, although rude, it is true. It is fake.
Different time now.
Twice a week, you would see shit like that.
On a 7-day week? Oh, yeah.
I do believe that each week has 7 days in it.
For sure.
There's something about that.
Especially in Texas. The Cowboys down here think they're half tough, or that in the old days did.
Yeah.
The real Cowboys, yeah.
I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Well, they probably were tough compared to
they
regular
were,
people.
Sure. But I meant, rodeo riders and all that. I'm taking nothing away from them.
Right.
They just weren't Harley Race tough.
There's something.
Or Jack Mulligan tough. Or Haku rough.
Right.
Some of the guys were just dynamite.
The definition of tough is to be strong enough to withstand adverse conditions or rough or careless handling. I don't think Ric Flair understands that. These guys don't sound tough. These guys sound more like psychopaths with their violent social behavior.
Yeah, I'm sure. There's something so romantic about that. Well, just traveling around, getting hammered every night, beating the fuck out of people in bars, going back to the arenas. I mean, that would make an amazing fucking movie.
I guess he's right. There actually is something very romantic about assaulting people 2 days out of a 7-day week. I guess I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, the insanity of that life. Again, it's like you live something that's just not going to ever be available to young guys again. It's you can't live that way anymore.
No.
Full disclaimer, I am a big fan of professional wrestling, and I don't think all guys involved with it are like this. There are people like Mark Calloway, better known as The Undertaker, that are known for being gentlemen and upstanding individuals. However, after listening to this specific episode of the Joe Rogan Podcast with Ric Flair and doing a little bit more research myself, I certainly did lose respect for the guys mentioned in this video. Earlier in the video, I suggested that Harley Race and Haku had psychopathic behaviors. And I think that because to do something so sadistic as to bite someone's nose off or gouge out an eye, that had to be premeditated. If these guys are as big and strong as people think they are, and somebody really was giving them a hard time and starting crap, they should have no problem defending themselves or even teaching them a lesson by beating them up or holding them down until the police come or something. But gouge an eye or bite a piece of someone's body part off is just excessive and not necessary. So let me know if you think these stories by Ric Flair are true, false, or kind of true but highly embellished. And let me know if you agree or disagree with my point of view. Thank you.